pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we have the minutes from the March 5th regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 5th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second.
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Next, we have the bills, and from the general account, March 6th through March 31st, we have $137,932.09, and as of April 2nd for $152,739.17.
I make a motion that we approve the bills for March 6th through March 31st for a total of $137,932.09. Also, as of April 2nd forward, for $152,739.17.
I second.
We've paid Greg signing checks after.
Sign the checks after, excuse me. Sorry, I forgot that.
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Public comments. Comments on MS4? Okay. Michael Dunn. Is Michael Dunn here? Yeah, okay.
Good evening. I'm calling tonight, came tonight to ask for consideration on my 2018 property tax bill. Own the property at 154 Ziegler Road. My wife and I moved, bought a different property in Patterson Township, and submitted to the courthouse a change of address form. Evidently, when they changed the address at the county courthouse, they picked up a change of the street address, but they did not change the city and zip code. So never got my tax bills from the township, from the courthouse, from the school district. Didn't really notice it in the turmoil of the move until this year when my tax bills came in and I didn't see them for 154. So I'm asking if I could just pay the face amount instead of the penalty. That consideration was granted by the treasurer for my county taxes. Asked them to do the same thing. They did approve paying the face amount. I'm asking if you might show me the same consideration.
I see no reason not to.
I make a motion that we, Mr. Dunn, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That we let you pay face value due to the error in the courthouse at the tax office.
Second.
Brian?
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Jesse Dietrich.
Can we pass up first?
Sure. Good evening. Thanks for your time. I live in the township over on 989, and I'm here this evening. I talked to a few members of the zoning board about an article in the zoning ordinances, and they told me that they don't write them; they just enforce them. So I need to come here tonight and talk to the gentleman. Article 5, Section 501. Sean, if the copies made it to you. For additional dwellings and structures, does not specify the maximum size of an accessory building for a lot 3 acres or greater, but less than 5 with on-lot water and sewage. it does state for less than 3 acres, you can build a maximum of a 1,200 square foot accessory building. It goes on to state that if you have at least 3 acres served by public water and sewage, you can build up to 2,400, or at least 5 acres with on-lot water and sewage, you can build it, again, 2,400 square feet. I was trying to obtain a permit to build a 1,600 square foot building on my 4.49 acre lot with on-lot water and sewage. Article 5, Section 501 does neither prohibit nor grant a building size. So I'm just here asking for consideration, since my lot is of sufficient size to accommodate the building, and the request does not go over the maximum 2,400 stated, is whether or not I can build a 1,600 square foot building.
I think that's something we have to consider. I don't think we really can.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you can't answer tonight, that's fine as well. Just like I said, the ordinance itself.
I think the board needs to discuss it a little bit. I don't see where we have a right to do it really.
Yeah.
But I think we need to discuss it amongst the board members really.
That's fine.
This was all laid out by the planning commission through
Yeah, and it's
changes
been
of the
approved by the
zoning.
board of supervisors.
And got approved by the board of supervisors,
Yeah.
but all the work was done prior to at the planning commission. And I don't see it.
And I don't think the zoning hearing board would grant it to you really, and I don't feel that really that this board has a right to grant it to you, to go over the zoning hearing board's decision.
Yeah, and that's, the ordinance does not state, like I said, for an on-lot sewer, and you have over 3 acres but less than 5, it does not have a restriction written into the ordinance.
Yes, it does.
Because if you look at the table, if you have less than 3 acres, you are restricted to a maximum of 1,200 acres, or 1,200 square feet, I'm sorry. But it doesn't say anything if you have more than 3 acres, 3 acres or more, but less than 5 acres with on-lot sewage, it's not telling me how big of a building I can build.
I disagreed with them from the beginning, and that's the reason why we came in.
That
here.
last part there, at least 3 acres if served by public water and sewer, or at least 5 acres if served by on-lot water and sewer. I think, like I say, I think the board needs to look at it, but I don't think the board has a right to override the zoning hearing board's decision. I'm quite certain the zoning hearing board would see it.
Again, they told me to question the ordinance, I would need to come and speak to you gentlemen, so.
Okay. Okay, let us consider this for next month's meeting, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? If not, we'll move on to administration, and we have the treasurer's report.
Okay, the beginning balance in March was $632,232.65. The income was $526,580.59. The expenditures were $280,404.39, leaving an ending balance in beginning of April $878,408.85.
Thank you.
Thank you, Buzz.
Flowchart, you want to handle that?
Yes, I will. I got the second one.
Okay.
A project we've been working on for quite some time is now complete, and I'm ready to present it to everybody. Much trial, error, frustration, some swearing under our breath took place over the last year, and but we made it, and I'm happy to say again that it's up on the wall here. I will show everybody in a few minutes. As I stated last January, there are 3 things that people want in a workplace or a municipal government. The first is to be part of the process, which is New Sewickley Township in this case. Help me with small personal problems and pat me on the back when I do a good job. And I believe this chart helps in those three areas for our township. The chart will allow everybody in here, all the citizens, everybody that works here, to take a look at it and see how our government is set up, who does what, who they report to, and many, many other things, and I'll explain after I unveil the chart up there. I want to thank Walt and Patty and Elois so much for, again, we worked about a year on it, and they stayed persistent and never gave up. And a great big thank you to Dan for building the frame, giving his own time, his own money, and he did the same thing with the zoning chart over there also. Dan, we thank you for that. You can use it, Patty. Thanks, Bill. As you can see, the New Sewickley Township residents are up top. That's the bosses. And then we have the Board of Supervisors, Walt, the manager, and his two helpers, workers, camaraderies, or whatever.
Assistants.
But
Bosses.
there's 13 departments that they oversee, as Walt being the manager, and he has a lot of help doing that. But they oversee the 13 different departments. There is a couple things on here I wanted to point out. There's a ranking and who's in charge and who they report to, so you can kind of, when you look at the whole thing, you can see everything like that. So it will be changed once a year. Obviously, we'll have some changes every year that'll go into place there. I have seen, for each department, I guess I should say first, works independently, but it's very important that we all work together for New Sewickley Township. I have seen over the last year or so the police and the road department working very well together. The Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission, these guys are second to none. I can tell you that. I think a lot of people know that, but they make so many decisions for us and let us know what they recommend. So I've been on both sides of the coin. I was with the planning, and now I'm in this position, so I can speak on both ends. But very, very good stuff. I know Larry from the municipal board has been working with the water, Lisa and the rec board. Wonderful job, and on from there. I don't want to talk about everybody. But again, I want to thank everybody. Patty, a big thank you to you for starting our remodeling here. I asked for her for a podium this morning, and we got one here. She brought it in, not the one we're going to use permanently, but at least it's something there. So I really appreciate you jumping on everything and doing a good job that way.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Tom and everybody we didn't mention for his work, and a special thank you to his daughter, who did all these pictures, came in here and gave her time and didn't charge us for the photography and putting these down. I think, as I've been saying so many times, New Sewickley, we have some really great people in this community, and this is an example. Me and his daughter are an example, and this board also, and the citizens. I think this is a great piece of work. People come in here and they have a flow chart. Who do I go to see? What they can look right here and get a lot of answers just by looking at that chart.
that Walt's high school picture? You got the next one you say?
Yes, I do.
Then the next, we'll move on to the next one, the report on the grant seminar.
Mike Phipps and I have been talking about getting grants for the township, off and on for quite a while, actually. And he mentioned to me once that he'd like to go to a training class. He knows this much, but would like to know a lot more. So one came up in Cranberry, and I called Mike, and off he went. So I asked him if he could report this evening on grants and what we can do. It's my opinion that there's money out there for us to go get, and there's certain things that we got to do to establish ourselves. One of them would be a long-term plan, and also possibly forming a committee, and I don't want to take away from Mike. Thank you for doing that, Mike.
No problem. As Tom said, he called me about 2 weeks ago, and Wednesday, 2 weeks ago tomorrow actually, I went over and grabbed our Township Community Building, and they had scheduled a 3-hour seminar, which went on about 3.5 hours. And I have some papers. I don't know if you guys picked them up. They're back here if you're interested in getting one. But the two guys who ran the seminars were just terrific. One is the guy who's township manager from Allegheny Township. He's been working there 25 years. He has done many grants, and the person who works with the engineering firm that works with Allegheny Township, one of their people came with them, and they put on a terrific presentation. He was just talking about a grant that they just finished. They had gotten control of 7 miles of a railroad track that was shut down, and basically they wanted to convert it to a rails to trails kind of a thing. And they had gotten a grant, and they got the first couple of miles done, and the next year they got another grant and got the next couple of miles, and then he finally finished it up with the third year and the third grant. So they now have, it's completely done, the 7-mile trail, pretty much totally paid for just by grants. So the guy, he impressed me. He did a really good job. In the 3.5 hours, the first hour was spent mostly on what the township should do really before going after grants. And the first thing, we did really good. They said you needed a comprehensive plan. Now, there were maybe 25 people there representing probably 20 different townships. And he asked how many had comprehensive plans, and we were one of 5. The rest of them had no comprehensive plan in line. And we, I think 7 years ago, spent a couple of years putting ours together, and it's a pretty darn good one. So that part of it we're in pretty good shape for. He said that what we should do, and kind of strangely enough, we've been talking about this at the Planning Commission, that we should start now after, he said about 5 years, it's been about 7 for us, but you should start going through your comprehensive plan and saying, hey, this is what we wanted to do, what did we get accomplished, and what have we not got accomplished? And start listing those things out and say, hey, we need to start working on these things. After that, those are called strategic plans. Get those basic ideas. And then he said, we really need to form a group made up of people from the township. And I went through here and kind of picked out the people that I thought might be good on the committee to meet once a month and start putting together a long-term plan for the township, because that was the next step. He said you need to develop a long-term plan along with a long-term budget. The long-term budget should include things like, the example he gave was a dump truck. He said a dump truck might last 10 years. So on your long-term budget, every year you should have $10,000 and keep adding it on, because you know in 10 years you've got to have a new dump truck and all that kind of equipment. But there were also big things, big items. The one that I thought, to me, that came up, and we've talked about this with Tom and a couple others, is this building. when I started on the Planning Commission about 8 or 9 years ago, we were talking about buying the, down along the turnpike, the old rest plaza down there. And that kind of fell through. And then 3 years ago, about, we talked about buying the Big Knob School, and that kind of fell through. So I'm assuming at some point in the past, we decided this building was maybe a little bit too small. Now, Al was telling me today that he still has the plans to expand the building out this way. Is that right? You know, at this point, we've never made a decision, though. What are we going to do? Are we going to get a new one? Are we going to stay with this? Or are we going to build onto it? So maybe it's time with this long-term plan that we make that decision. And that's just one of many. That's just me bringing it up. Okay? I'm with the rec board quite often, and they want to buy the farm down next to the park to make it bigger. And I talked to him quite a while. He said, that's a really good project for a grant, with a land acquisition grant. And he said those go through pretty easily if you prepare. But he said all these things should be done first. Then he said, get that group you had, once you've got decided what you want to get, and start searching for grants. Now, we're probably going to need some professional help to get us started. But get this group of people together, get a professional to come in and help us, and start writing these grants, and kind of go from there. He said, sometimes you get turned down, but if you do, just go back, find out what's wrong, and resubmit it the next year. He said, they don't get everyone, but he said they get enough of them that it's well worth the time they put into it. He said, the important thing, though, is that you need the township to be committed to it. You need to be able to go in and say, here's documentation from the comprehensive plan that says this is something we're going to do. And same with the long-term budget and the long-term plan. So that when they look at it, they say, yes, these people are dedicated to it. They're really going to do it. And he said it's much easier to get these things to go through. So that worked out well. These, my wife has passed them around. These are my conclusions from whatever, my kind of conclusions from and things we need to do. And I agree with Tom. It says, and there is money out there, lots of it. And at this point, I don't believe we're getting our fair share. We just need to keep after it. So what I think that the supervisors should do is get this grant writing committee formed. I put down Walt, a supervisor, a planning commission member, a rec board member, road crew chief, police chief, and a professional with planning experience. Now that's just my take on it, but we get other people too. And once they get the long-term plan developed, then start looking for grants to fill in the areas where we feel we need the money and we need to get that project done. The township does need to get the long-term plan going, the long-term budget, and go out and try to get these grants. The money's there, and it does seem like it's a good time for it, because I know the auditors are now looking at the township finances and will soon report monetarily how the township is doing. And the rec board, the rec board's working on their own projects, but the planning commission, again, is getting ready to look at the comprehensive plan. And all those things coming together at one time, it would be a good time to do this, to get this committee together and get started looking for the grants. And that's what I got out of it. Any questions I can answer for you today? Yes.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I was looking this. I think we should have asked for citizens in the community too. I mean, we have the people working, but do you think it's a good idea to ask for citizens in the community that might want to volunteer?
I think absolutely.
Because they're taxpayers, and if they know what we're doing and get them on board. I think that would also help us with the community to accept this.
I agree totally.
That's why you didn't.
I did not include them, but, you know, again, this was just a list of people that came to mind, like the police chief. I don't know, you know, what they need, what they're going to need in the future. I don't know if their building downstairs is big enough, if they need, you know, more space. I mean, those things I don't know. And I don't know what kind of equipment the road crew's going to get. So those people I thought need to be on here just for the township, you know, means.
Maybe to start out, but as we move along, we might want to try to ask for some citizen volunteers, maybe somebody from the schools, somebody representing the schools.
No, I think you're right. I mean, the more people we can get,
The better it is.
right, because, you know, we're going to start searching for these grants, and it's not going to come to us. So, yeah, what they did there were 5 townships went together, and they hired a company who looks for grants all the time, and then comes in and helps them and tells them, hey, here's what you might want to use, and they bring it in. And then this company kind of hand delivers them to Harrisburg. And they I guess they kind of lobby for him. And say, hey, did you see that new Sewickley grant kind of thing? And he said it really helps out. This company does a really great job. And the 5 townships each pay a portion, so.
I thank you for your work.
Can I make a comment real quick? I mean, it's kind of what Patty did for us with the recycling grant to some degree, isn't it? I mean, what he's talking about. I mean, she did all that work, and she put a lot of time in and really did good for the road department.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, coming forward with that truck, the chipper, and that helps us out tremendously. I mean, I feel like, and what you said about the budget, I mean, we talked to Tom about this already. We'd like to prepare for trucks, you know, being able to set a savings account aside, because when we come time for us to buy a truck, we don't have that, you know, $180,000. It would be nice to prepare for that for 4 or 5 years to save up, like you were saying. And I think Tom and I talked about it, but the grant that Patty and Walt and Lois got for us really helped us out. But I definitely like what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a great way to get the money, and you're right. There's no reason that we shouldn't, over a long course of time, be preparing for what we know is inevitable. I mean, the dump truck's going to last 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not going to last forever. And you're right. All of, you know, coming up with 180,000 at that one time is just pretty hard. So, and he said it's much easier to make the regular budget because you know that that's going to be on it for long term. So, yeah.
Sandy Egley, Beaver County Commissioner.
Yeah.
I applaud you for what you're doing. When you apply for grants, absolutely let the county know, and we will write a letter of support coming from the Beaver County Commissioners, because as you succeed, we all succeed. And those who have those letters written tend to get looked at in a different light than unaccompanied. And we also have in our community and economic development over in Beaver Falls, we have a program that searches for grants. If you give me an email to where you want to have those grants that are out there sent to you, I will put you on the rotation list.
We will gladly do that.
Very good.
Yeah, the second page of this, the third page, I guess, is actually a list steps that I actually just copied down from exactly what they sent us, and that's one of the things they said. Try to get,
Letters of support.
yeah, letters of support. Try to find support from the community. And we've been talking about building the amphitheater, and inadvertently, I think we've done it. The things that we needed to do almost perfectly, because we have community support. We've had people donate money to get the thing built. We have a park plan, which is very important. He said, without a park plan, oh, that was one thing I meant to tell you. The park plan, he said, if you don't have a park plan, the first thing you should do is try to get a grant to get a park plan. Because he said, without the park plan, you're not going to get anything. But, so we have that done. We have the community support. We have some money to start with.
Fundraisers.
What's that?
We've had some fundraisers too.
We've done fundraisers. We have now plans, we're getting the plans made, how much it's gonna cost. So we're almost have everything we need just for that, inadvertently, to, you know, apply for a grant. So that's kind of stumbled into it, but it's almost perfectly done. And thank you. We will.
Absolutely.
We'll get you the email, and we'll be looking forward for the first letters when the time comes.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Mike.
Actually, I have one question.
Yes.
I know we can get grants for things that we need, but like, when I was at the last meeting with the supervisors, somebody had said that they wanted a new Jaws of Life equipment. It was like $170,000. Would that be eligible for a grant to update safety equipment?
I'm not sure. We'd have to start and look and see if there's one on.
I mean, instead of the township coming up with all that money, then maybe get half of it. That's really sizable. That's $85,000.
Yeah, get it started, then start looking for a grant. That's the thing to do.
Because it's
That's what I'm
important
saying.
to
We
keep
have
up
to
to
look.
date.
We have to look for what's out there. Try to find the grants. They did say, don't try to jam the grant into the township. In other words, if you see a grant and say, oh boy, we could use that, but have never had a plan for it, you're not going to be successful probably. What you should do is, again, have what you want, then look for the grant that will help you with what you want.
Thank you.
I believe we should give Mike and his team our blessing to move forward with investigating and digging up some more information. That's okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Mike.
No problem.
Okay, we'll move on then to a franchise agreement with Armstrong Utilities.
That just came around here. Actually, Chris Reese was working on it, but I'm assuming Phil got caught up on a little bit of it too. I got the last email that came across from Chris here late this afternoon. I'll share that with you, but heck's of that. Well, I guess I don't have it. But anyways, he was down. They were asking for a 15-year Armstrong agreement, and we asked for a 5-year agreement, and they came back with a 10-year. On the last email he just sent me here late today. So, truthfully, I don't have a problem with the 10-year. I did have a problem with a 15-year. Normal one we have a Comcast on the other end of the township is a 10-year also. I think that's a standard. I think they were asking for the world with 15. So, they're just asking for a 10. So.
Okay, what's the board's wishes on it?
I'm okay with it.
We need a motion to sign it.
I make a motion that we accept the Armstrong Utility franchise agreement for 10 years.
Second.
Is Attorney Reese recommending we sign it? Is it?
He
Didn't say that.
He didn't recommend it. He said this is their offer. He counter offered. They came back with an offer. He didn't recommend it. He didn't. It was just in an email, very short paragraph, and it was probably, I don't know what, 5 o'clock or something. He said
That's when they got back to him.
yeah. So it
Well, I
took.
guess what I'm asking is it ready to be signed?
It is ready to be signed. The only issue was the term, whether the term was
okay.
going to be 5 or 15 or
It makes
somewhere in
more sense.
between. Yeah. But it was all reviewed and by him, but the only open issue now was the term of the agreement.
Thank you.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call?
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. We're going to skip the next one until the end of the meeting then. We received a request from continued real estate tax exemption from PA State Veterans Commission for Lee Corfield. You have a copy of it in your papers there.
We've done these in the past. This is a standard continuation.
I'll make a motion that we continue the real estate tax exemption from the PA State Veterans Commission for Frank, I think it's Lee Corfield.
Second. Question or comment on the motion?
Yeah, I have a question. Do we know if the school district and the county have also exonerated that, continued that exemption or exonerated it?
We don't get that information here. I have no idea.
Anyone here to represent Mr. Cornfield?
No.
I would think we would want to know whether if the school district and the county are also exempting that, continuing the exemption before we exempt it.
What we have here, Dan, is from Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And it states here, the applicant's application has been approved for the exemption of all real estate and property taxes on the above listed property. Whether the other one's doing or not, basically, we're told that we need to, I think. We have a motion with a second, right?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call?
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Adopt resolution 419 for disposition of records.
We have boxes and boxes of old records, and we're following the law to get shredded in here to get rid of them. 30, 40 boxes or better by the time we get done. So it's a process that we have to do, take it to a vote to let you guys notify that we're following the law for shredding.
How many years back is it? How
Well,
many years
it
can we go
depends.
back? Is
It
there a
depends.
limitation?
Depends on what it is.
What it is, you're
There's
just
different rules for different types of paper.
Some are
checks.
7, some are 10, some are 2, some are, just, it depends.
Is there such a thing as, I know they used to use microfiche. They used to put things on digitally. Is that do we have that ability to do that, or?
I don't know if there's ever a need. Some of it is actually probably saved on the computer already, but I don't know if we want to take the cost of something that we're not ever going to use again anyways.
So
I've
we're
been
not
here.
gonna
I've been
use
here
it.
9 years. Haven't touched it.
We have canceled check, we have checks from 10 years ago. 10?
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
long-
long, yeah.
So you don't think it's a problem, Walt?
No, it's not a problem.
Well, we already made a motion, several
To go
years
ahead and
ago,
get
to
your-
go ahead and get rid of everything.
Yep.
So all we have to do is, you want to adopt this resolution again to go ahead and,
Well, we just approved it. We have to have a resolution saying we're gonna follow the retention record policy. Am I correct, Phil?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is what we had done previously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that doesn't cover this time period?
No, it's a question of whether you want to destroy the records or try to preserve them, but as Walt says, if you don't ever have a need for
We'll
them, why
never
go
use
to
them.
the expense of putting them on, not microfilm anymore, but whatever they do to preserve it,
You can scan it, stick it in the
scan
computer,
it,
but
yeah.
we would never use it.
Yeah, so it's probably an unnecessary expense.
You're saving it only because the law says you have to save it, and some of the stuff we have here longer than we should.
Yeah, there's a different schedule depending on the type of document that you have.
This is the second time we've actually done this since I've been here, so periodically have to, otherwise you get overloaded.
All right, I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 04-19 for disposition of past records.
I'll second.
have a motion with a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Roll call?
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Next, to set a public hearing for April 30th at 6 o'clock for proposed amendments to zoning ordinance 208 We don't even need a motion or anything for that, just make the announcement, right?
Yeah, it's just an announcement, it's being advertised, so twice.
April the 30th at 6 o'clock for the purpose of zoning ordinance, amendments to zoning ordinance 208. Okay, is that satisfactory?
Yes.
Okay. Then the next on the list is Brandy Chanel requesting tax exoneration on property located on Locust Lane.
Gentleman came in, a house burnt down a few years ago, and it's been sitting there, and he's trying to get tax exoneration so he can purchase it. I told him he needed to also go to the school if he was going to do this. I was actually going to hand it to Phil. The copier that day was really bad, so this is what he gave me. Yeah.
This is up.
This is
more
this.
than this.
Yeah. This is what he came in with. So I don't know if it's something that we want to make to go over today, or vote on this today, or just have the solicitor overlook it. And
I mean, you're either, you know, he's asking that the taxes be forgiven. If the property's in the depository, he wants to buy it out of the depository, and he wants the taxes forgiven. And the idea is that if he does that, then the property, when it's in the repository, there's no payment of any taxes on it. It just sits there. So if somebody comes forward and says, hey, I'll take that property, I'll get it back on your tax rolls and do something with it, but I'm asking you to forgive the delinquent taxes. That's what you're being asked to do. The alternative is to say, no, we're not going to do that, and it'll just sit there forever. So for the amount of money that's involved, probably the prudent thing to do would be to forgive that and then get it out of that repository, get it back on the tax roll.
So do you recommend we do this?
Yeah, it's a long way of saying it. I recommend they
That's
do
all I
it.
want to know.
Sorry.
That's all right. I didn't care.
We get paid by the word, and so I just keep going, you know?
like I said, I sent him to the school because he also needs to go to the school to get that also.
All right, again, I'll make a motion that Brandy R. Fennell request tax exemption on her property located on Locust Lane, that we grant this tax exoneration.
I'll second.
Question or comment on the motion? Even if we grant it and the school doesn't, that doesn't do much good if he doesn't get that right.
Yeah, but I don't know why the school wouldn't. I mean, they want to get it back on the tax roll just like we do.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes. Anything else under administration for now?
That's all I have.
Okay, then we'll move on to public safety, Ron.
Chairman, requesting to hire John DeLuca and Zachary Potts as part-time police officers for the new Sewickley Police.
Need action on that?
I'll make a motion to hire John DeLuca and Zachary Potts as part-time police officers.
I'll second it.
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is the accepting resignation of Eric Strom Dunmeyer. He's one of our part-time officers, been with us for about 2 years. He'll be resigning effective May 31st. He's been accepted to the Pennsylvania State Police. Congratulations to him.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Eric Dunmeyer Schrum as a part-time police officer.
I'll second.
Question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is to approve the tractor parade permit through the Department of Transportation, which is scheduled for June 7th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the tractor parade that is scheduled for June 7th.
I'll second.
What is that? Excuse me, I should have asked that first.
Well, since Mr. Dietrich is here.
Long time ago. Didn't need a permit when I was there.
All right. What it is, it's the last day of school. The kids in the community, they operate their tractors to school and then back home again. We went through some transitions where we had some issues where the tractors were involved in accidents. The prior police chief tried to disband the tractor parade for safety reasons. When I became chief, we kind of sat down as a community and came away a safety and a legal way to operate these tractors to school, since it's not an agricultural event. What we do is we meet at the Grange about 6:30 in the morning. We escort the tractors through to the school district, and we escort the tractors back to the Grange after the school day is there. We apply for a tractor for a parade permit through the Department of Transportation. When it's granted, then we commence with the parade. But it's escorted by the police departments. It's a great community event. I support it 100%.
Then I support it.
Great.
He's afraid to get fired if he doesn't.
A motion with a second, right?
Yes, we do.
We don't have a second.
Yeah, yep, I did. Tom seconded it.
Any other questions on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian? Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yeah.
The second thing I have is to place Officer Haberjack on the Beaver County Anti-Drug Task Force. He spent probably about 15 years on the Beaver County ESU team, Emergency Services Unit. He is our K-9 unit. I spoke to the district attorney. I spoke to the chief county detective. We feel that he would make a great asset to the Anti-Drug Task Force with his K-9 unit and his knowledge in police work and narcotic works. Each year, when we have a member on the ESU team or the Anti-Drug Task Force, the township pays $400 for workman's comp coverage for the county. He has paid his workman's comp for the year. When he was on the ESU team, he was just making a lateral transfer from the ESU, Emergency Services, to the Anti-Drug Task Force. I would need approval from you to make the move within our department.
I make a motion that Officer Haberjack be placed on the Beaver County Anti-Drug Task Force.
Second.
Second. We have a motion with a second. Any question or comment on the motion? Roll call.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Man, the police department is heavy on tonight's agenda. Is it not?
Yeah.
It is.
And I do have one apology to make. A, we hired 2 police officers, and B, one resigned. That messes up the flow chart. I apologize. I really apologize. But moving on. Last week, myself, Supervisor Applequest, and Supervisor Retch, we attended a meeting down at the 911 Center for LPR cameras, which are license plate reader cameras at intersections throughout Allegheny County and Beaver County. The Beaver Police Department has kind of quartered an entire borough with these cameras of traffic coming in and out of their community. Since then, we had discussion with it at our agenda meeting. Over the weekend, we had an incident with one of our residents who had some mental health issues, and we had to put a missing person alert out on him. So we put his license plate number into this camera system. Within about an hour, his car was picked up on the camera systems in Washington County, in Oyster Bay Township. So once that hit, we were able to get a hold of the Oyster Bay Police Department to look for this vehicle. They did find him. So he had an Alzheimer type problem. So we were able to rear him back in. I mean, he was from here all the way down to Washington County. So the system does work. It's just not for trying to find criminals.
You're not allowed to use that system unless you're part of the system, so I don't know how you got that done, because they told us it's the
Well, I have ways of doing that through the FBI National Academy. I have friends that'll work with us and do that with us. So there's a way to get around things. But with that, actually today I gave you this letter that I received from our District Attorney Lozier. We received this letter today. He's very pro for these cameras in our county. It's a great tool, just not for law enforcement, but it's a tool for a community. It does vehicle counts. And when we want to do vehicle counts on a roadway, it's vehicle counts for road constructions, traffic patterns, traffic speed limits, or we have issues at an intersection with accidents. It does a lot of that. It'll examine that. We'll be able to view an intersection, see what happened in a crash that's happened there, because it's recorded. So it's some neat things that it does. With this letter, he agrees to, if we would put a light or a traffic counter in there, or these cameras in our system, he's committing $5,000 from the county's drug task force fund to help out on the costs. What I'm going to ask from you, I mean, the intersection we want to start with is the red light at the intersection of Levi Road and Freedom Pryor Road. That's where our industrial park is. That's where a majority of our traffic is. That's a lot of majority of where our accidents are, is on that corridor there. So we'd like to pursue this a little bit. I would like to seek support from the businesses at that intersection in the industrial park, to see if we can help out the costs on the lights. And I'd like to team up with Mr. Phipps to see if there's any grants out there that he can help us with, because we have a need. So.
Hey, one thing on that issue. My son teaches at Norwin, and last week when they did that kidnapping up in at the park up here, that's how they caught him. He was going past the school, and one of these license plate things caught the license plate.
Correct.
And they wound up shutting the school down because he was going right past the school virtually. And so they obviously do work, because they caught it. They got him, obviously.
So with your support, if you can give me approval, I'd like to contact the business people there to see if there's any funding they would like to contribute to it. See if there's any internet services they would like to contribute to it, because there was a cost to that when they give this seminar. If we can find somebody out there to jump off of for free service, that would be substantially less. And once I get the whole package together, and see what funding there are from Mr. Phipps that we can find, we'll present it back to you with a plan on how to pay for it.
I don't think we need a motion to do that, do we?
I think it's consensus of the board to go ahead.
Phil, is that okay?
I think so, yeah. What's the cost? What kind of dollars are you?
About 15 grand.
Per intersection.
Per intersection.
But I think it's very impressive, and the part that I look at is for the roads. It's a counter. It'll count the cars with Freedom Road getting this extra traffic. It reads every license plate. You don't have to have somebody sitting out there paying $5,000 to $10,000 to sit there and tell you how many cars go by. You'll have a live account anytime the PennDOT would come back with some counter. We would have a real live count right there at all times. So that was a great asset part of that.
Also, when we went to the meeting on last week, the superintendent of the school district did go with us, Dr. Fuller. They talked about how this camera system work on a school campus. When there's people that are not permitted to be on campus, they put certain information into it, and when those people do cross the cameras, it'll alert our school resource officer on the ground, hey, this vehicle or this person is there. It's pretty unique. So actually, I am having Mr. Hinkle come down and do a cost analysis of what it would cost for the Freedom School District, because there is a grant out there through the federal government for Safe School Grant. So that would be a perfect item for that grant proposal to try to come up with. Mr. Phipps, if you want to come down and see how I write a grant, you're more than welcome to come down.
I'll be there.
All right. The next thing we have in May is our police memorial. I've nominated several officers for our police memorial awards that the district attorney gives out. Officer Liberty Gate is nominated for a case that he handled down at the Freedom Area School District for when a person was putting threats on the social media of bringing an AR to school and shooting up the school. An outstanding investigation on that. So he was nominated. I gave copies of the nominations that I sent him to you. Also, I gave Detective Carney a nomination for his drug investigation in line with the Beaver County Drug Task Force. The person who overdosed and died on heroin in our community. He pursued that case and was able to make an arrest on the person who supplied the heroin. And actually, it has gone through its course through trial, and he was found guilty. So that case was an outstanding case he had. There was 5 officers that I nominated for the Top Gun Award, which is traffic enforcement and DUI. Was Officer Jones, Officer Poland, Officer Lopez, Officer Vincent, and Officer Beast. Those officers were all nominated. When the date comes up and time, I'll give you information on that. We like when the Township Supervisors are there for our support for our police department. And the last thing I have is the monthly reports. For the month of March 2019, there was 12 motor vehicle accidents. There was 19 criminal arrests made. There was 265 calls for services answered. There was 221 traffic citations issued. There was 23 field interviews. There was 96 criminal incidents investigated, and 109 pieces of property either came in or out of the property. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rob.
No one here from the fire departments tonight.
The fire departments are on a motor vehicle accident on Freedom Rider Road. They had a trailer truck go over a cliff. They will be there for quite a while too. Several cranes coming to get that thing up over.
Okay. Then we move on to the road department. And under the road department, award bid for rental equipment and liquid asphalt. You have Youngblood is the low bidder on both the rental equipment and liquid asphalt. So we need to take action on that.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to award bids for rental equipment and liquid asphalt to Youngblood for the rental equipment, the amount of $68,580, and for liquid asphalt, $541,275.
Second,
Second.
question or comment on the motion? Roll call?
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Dwayne.
Yes. Next, accept the Beaver County Cog Spring Committee bids excluding the bituminous materials.
We only had one bid on the bituminous material, and it's from Hanson, and prefer, the next line item is actually, we're gonna request to put out the bid separately to see if we can get more bidders. We weren't happy with what we got back for asphalt. So, but everything else looked fine. We took the lowest ones out of the bunch. Have no issues with it. That pipe, stone, all the stuff that we use yearly.
So we need action on that.
Yes, please.
I move that we accept the Beaver County Cog Spring Commodities bid excluding the bituminous material.
Second,
I'll second.
motion with a second. Any question or comments on the motion? Roll call?
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Dwayne.
Yes. Okay, then we need action on this next one, the request to advertise for bids for bituminous materials.
I'll make that motion, request to advertise for bids for bituminous materials.
Second,
Second.
motion with a second. Any question or comments? Roll call?
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Dwayne.
Yes. Next under the road is to discuss the road inspection, which we normally do in April.
We had snow last April and didn't really push for it this year because I thought maybe we may have it again, so it was a little tough trying to do it when there was snow on the ground last year. Hard to see. So I just didn't know, without Greg being here, if you want to try to put the date together that we can do a road inspection. It could be during the day, during the week. For me, I'd be fine with that.
Well, Brian works. You can't make it Brian during the week, right?
I can.
We can do it at the end of the day. Brian's off early.
I can take a half a day, don't matter. If somebody don't call off, one of the three we have.
Why don't you wait and pull everybody and see
We
what's
can do that.
rather than trying to decide tonight.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Because I have no idea what Greg's got going on either, so.
Moving on then, to our solicitor.
I have nothing to report. Everything that was on my list has been discussed for the most part. So I have nothing else to bring
our
up.
engineer.
I was going to share something,
Oh, okay.
actually, and I was just going to give it to you guys to review. This is on the billing services for the fire department. Chris.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Chris emailed me his two. I made copies of it. So, from what I get, the gist of this, you can charge for accidents for fire departments to recoup some of the costs. You cannot charge for police to respond. So, Ron, you're out of money, so you're not getting any more.
No grants.
Yeah. So, I just got this here right at the end of the day. I printed up copies just so you can review them. And it's one of those questions that the fire department's been putting out for a while. So, from the gist of this, yes, you can charge. So, I have not had a chance to review this yet. So it's just information for right now. I don't expect anybody to be able to.
You're gonna make a decision.
No, not at this point, no.
Okay.
There's some recommendations for the fees on there.
There is.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, we'll move on then to our engineer.
Sure. I was requested to look at Green Valley Park and some of the flooding that was occurring due to some changes with the construction up at the turnpike. What we looked at is putting in a drainage ditch, a grass drainage ditch that would divert about 8 acres of flow from where there's currently issues, and it would direct it directly to the stream that is surrounding Green Valley. We looked at it from from the 5-year to the 25-year storm, and it will definitely be able to fit. It's a 1.5% slope drainage ditch, and the flows are pretty low at 3.5 feet per second. So
Yeah, I actually printed up what you sent me, and I had it out, and I was reviewing it today. It's over almost 9,000 cubic yards of material that needs to be dug out.
Yeah.
And it looks to be an area that's about 75 feet wide of disturbance because it has to go so far, and the way the contours of the ground go. It's all laid out and shows everything, putting riprap back in about a foot deep. Could be extremely costly. We got to start somewhere. I don't know if I can get some assistance from the turnpike or a contractor to do some of the work.
Is that lane construction?
That would be who I would approach, yeah. But I would say it's going to be I don't want to even get a point of how much it's going to cost if we just try to do this without some assistance. I don't think it's feasible to try to do it in-house, so I got to get help.
Have you talked to our legislators?
Yes.
About this?
Yeah, this has been an ongoing thing. I've had Senator Vogel, Jim Marshall, all involved with this, and the Turnpike. This has been going on for over a year, I've been in discussion with the Turnpike trying to get this done. They just wouldn't listen to what I had said, so I had to give it to an engineer to draw it up. They haven't got it yet because I just received it, and I need to share it with them to see if they'll even let us do what's on there. I have no idea at this point.
Yeah, it's on their property, so, but it does divert and keep it away from the ball fields.
It does.
There is, like you noted, the cut is quite a bit, so if you need materials somewhere else, that's always helpful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so that might be something to think about if there's a need for your material somewhere else, or if there's some other options we can go, but I wanted to show what would need to be done.
No, it definitely
for that.
shows that. It shows it's a lot of
Yeah.
material being hauled out of it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. I was in a meeting and I was introduced by Jim Marshall to a Charlie Kemp.
Charlie Camp, yep.
And
He
Tom
works
and I
with Turnpike.
approached him about that.
Yeah, been working with him also.
Well, he seemed rather positive, and I don't know.
He
if
seems
that's-
positive, but the last conversation I had with him was, let me know how this goes with your engineers. That's
Well,
where
now
it's
we
at.
have something to tell him.
Yes, yeah.
So let's see him, or call him.
Yeah, I just got this today.
Okay.
So I have to share with them, send it back to them to fight their engineers. The problem is I don't like it. I don't like the amount of money it's gonna cost to do the project this way. So we gotta find some way to get it done, without us doing it in-house.
And that'll stop the flooding or help the flooding?
Oh, no, not stop the flooding in the park, no, but it will divert the water that comes directly out from underneath the asphalt and through the drains that comes down through the park after it rains and puts all that water down between the ball fields and never lets it dry out. Because that water continues to run for a day or two after. Besides, when it's raining hard, it runs all down through there. It will definitely lessen the amount of water that goes through the park.
Well, what would you say it alleviates, 50%?
Well, it will take about 8 acres away. It will take a lot from an impervious area, but you're still going to have flooding. There's still going to need to be downstream solutions. This will alleviate anything that from the turnpike from that area,
From that
which
runoff.
is
So
from that
it'll lessen
runoff.
the runoff, but then there's still more.
But then there's still downstream issues, but we'll be diverting everything that's
Brush
north
Creek
of
backs
that.
up, so you
Yes.
can't stop that floods. Brush Creek backs up, it floods.
Yeah.
So that water's still gonna go into Brush Creek, it's just not gonna come directly through the park, through the ball fields. It's gonna be diverted to run more towards the stream, but you can't divert it any other way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have rain like last year, you know, there will be, the park is at an elevation that is relatively low and it's very flat, so you will get stream flooding, and that's something that you have to think about, but last year was pretty bad, and
It was an atypical year.
it was an atypical year. This will help, especially with the changes of the construction from the turnpike. So it will help, but we can't say
There's
it's
no
going to.
total fix. There's
No.
no total fix.
Okay.
Okay. There was an inspection at the ETP compressor site completed, and I have a draft of that inspection, and I will send it to you tonight or tomorrow morning. They are finishing up their construction. The trees are being planted right now, and seeding will be performed in the next few weeks. Within about 6 to 8 weeks, the project trailers will be removed from the site, and then that grading area and seeding in those areas will be completed. After the compressor station is totally in place, they will then perform the operations for the sound and the light testing. So an inspector will need to be out there to make sure that's done correctly. But as of right now, in terms of the conditional use decisions, they are still in compliance of the conditional use.
When was the inspection done?
It was done this morning.
This morning.
Yeah. And we have thousands of pictures, and we never ended up receiving any additional plans from CEC or from ETP. We received one plan that was an overall like
Yeah.
200 scale photo.
That's the same
plan.
one that I see.
Yep, yep. So we haven't seen anything else, but they're moving along, and we actually got to go into the site, into the building as well, but nothing's really running yet.
So do they have to get the final permission from us before they start actually compressing it?
I would think so. They need to do all the tests, and so they need to talk to you for that.
Yeah.
So we're talking another month?
Yeah. The trailers are, yeah, I would say 1 to 2 months. I would say let's go to 2 months.
They wanted to do a sound test,
Yeah.
but
They're not ready.
they're not ready yet.
No.
Okay, anything else for the engineer? If not, we'll move on to Planning, Zoning, Sanitation, Recreation Board. First item is monthly recreation report.
Well, Lisa's not here tonight, so I got told to handle this. We submitted a financial report as of 2/28/19. That's what we have in both of our accounts. We are having issues down at the park with people dumping in the garbage, in the dumpsters. Actually, Officer Poland and I actually went through the garbage Saturday morning and got a name, and he went and talked to them, and they offered to pay for it and everything. So what we're thinking of doing is putting some cameras up just to prevent this, because it happens all year long. And, you know, we gotta try to stop it somehow. You know, if we can catch 2 or 3 people doing it, the word will get out that, you know. So that's one of the things we're looking to do. Just hunting trail cameras, anything like that, nothing expensive. We talked about at the agenda meeting about the pathway going up to the
Yeah, I misunderstood that when you said it the other day. I thought you were talking about the road going to the upper park.
No.
You're just talking about the one, that path?
Yeah.
There's $3,000 in that account.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We went back and looked, and you kept $3,000 out of our end of the year funds. So, okay. So we have $3,000 that will go towards that. And I think the last thing is, what's the word on the bid packets?
I talked to Chris Reese today. He should have that out here any day now. It's ready to go. So it's a bid for the amphitheater. Chris has it. I talked to him today about it, and he was changing the dates. I believe we're going to also open that. I don't want to say, but I think he's got a bid date. He's got to advertise it twice. So he's working on it. He'll have it done here any day.
Okay.
I don't want to say tomorrow, but it could be.
Okay. Hey, Walt, did you say we have to put 2 benches along that walkway up?
You have to have plateaus on the grade whenever you're pushing a wheelchair, that you have to have areas where you can push off. I don't know where those are yet. We never went down to look to see how far that has to be, but there is regulations on resting areas that you be able to push, so you don't have to continue to push somebody up that hill.
So it's just like an emergency pull-off kind of a thing.
Correct.
On the road.
Yeah.
But we do need benches there?
I'm
not sure.
I'm not sure if you need benches. You need a place to flatten off where they're not holding any longer.
Okay.
The idea was to put a bench there so they could, but doesn't have to.
Is there do you know like the laws, how close they have to be or that kind of thing?
That's the handicap accessibility law. I don't know them offhand, but they're out there. You can find them on the internet real easy.
That's all. Okay, thank you. Planning, monthly report.
We don't have anything this month for you.
And you all have the zoning monthly reports, the building monthly reports in your packet. And we're gonna go back now. I need a motion to go to executive session to discuss the personnel matter.
I'll make that motion, go to executive session.
Second.
Are you
All in
coming
favor,
back
say
after
aye.
executive
Yes.
session?
Yes.
You have to have a copy of that.
I'll send it to you.
If you have it, I mean, I just thought you may have made some copies or something.
I have made copies.